What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Fight Franchise and our preview and prediction of the main event of UFC 308, where Max Holloway, the BMF of the UFC, is going to take on the reigning featherweight champion Ilia Topuria in what is quite a legendary and star-making matchup within the UFC featherweight division. This is one of the most kind of hyped I've been for a kind of preview video doing it, because this is a very, very difficult fight to predict, as these two I think Max Holloway currently is the 8th pound for pound best fighter in the world right now in the UFC, and I think Max Holloway is the 8th best fighter in the world, and I think Ilia Topuria is the 3rd best fighter in the world. So this is not only just two featherweight greats and two featherweight legends, this is two pound for pound greats currently going at it for the undisputed featherweight gold at the main event of UFC 308, which is the main event of Abu Dhabi. I'm going to kind of get into it, give preview and prediction, and kind of a lengthy breakdown of where I see the openings, the kind of, keys to victory for both guys and whatnot. So we'll start off with the tail of the tape, and then we'll go to how we got here. So tail of the tape currently looks as such. So we've got records: Ilia Topuria, 15 wins, no losses, and 26 wins, 7 losses for Max Holloway. 5'7", 5'11", 5'7" for Ilia Topuria, 5'11" for Max Holloway. Reach, same inch reach, Ilia Topuria, though way shorter in height. Very similar reach, and leg reach, 37-inch leg reach for Ilia Topuria, and 42-inch leg reach for Max Holloway. And when it comes to odds makers, the Georgian Ilia Topuria is the favourite going into the fight. So, for so many years, the featherweight division, when you look at this division as one of the best divisions in the UFC, and when you look at the lineage of champions, Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, Alex Volkanovski, and Ilia Topuria. We've seen currently, like the middleweight division, Sean Strickland became champion, and then now he's lost the belt. Other heavyweight and all these other kind of divisions, like heavyweight, Jan Blachowicz became champion and then gone. We've seen champions in other divisions stay for one title defense and go, but it seems when you become featherweight champion, you're cut from a different cloth. It seems like you are an elite of the elite in the sport. So you look at all these featherweight champions, and I know Conor didn't defend the title, but let's not get it twisted. The guy was a high-level striker in his prime and was one of the best mixed martial artists in the world. At the time in his prime, he was unreal and untouchable in that featherweight division. And it seems anyone who becomes champ in this division is a creme de la creme in this kind of UFC and MMA sphere. And Max Holloway in I think it was 2016-17, around that time, maybe even a bit earlier, he became undisputed champion after fighting Jose Aldo, unifying both guys' interim titles. It was in 2017 he became undisputed champion, and then from then onwards had some good title defenses against Aldo again, Ortega, and then Frankie Edgar, and then had his 2 bouts against Alexander Volkanovski where he lost his title and failed to regain his title. He would work his way back up towards a title shot after beating Calvin Kattar and Yair Rodriguez, and then face Volkanovski again, where Volkanovski put on one of the best performances in MMA history, beat him 5-0 on the cards, and put the rivalry to bed. And it seemed like Max Holloway was gone from the division, and while Volkanovski was in charge, he was never going to get a title shot. Beats Arnold Allen, KOs the Korean Zombie, and then this year he's kind of in limbo, but there was talks about a undisputed BMF title shot. And he goes out at UFC 300, pitches one of the best striking performances of this year, and then sleeps Justin Gaethje in the last second of the fight to get one of the best moments and KOs of the year. And off the back of this, the options were all open. You can fight for lightweight gold, you could defend your BMF title against Conor McGregor, but he's opted and said, look, I want Ilia Topuria for the undisputed featherweight title. I want my belt back. So that's how Max Holloway's kind of storied career has got here. On the other hand, Ilia Topuria joins the UFC in 2020 and has gone on a 7-fight win streak. Was it 7 or 8? 7-fight win streak all the way to the title, where he kind of has brutalized this division. Did go up and face Jai Herbert in a lightweight fight at UFC London in 2022, but has kind of worked his way up the division. And while Max Holloway was murdering the other contenders and not letting them get through, Ilia Topuria went on the other path, beat Josh Emmett, earned a title shot, and brutalized Alex Volkanovski in a second round KO, and is now undisputed champion. So where we sit right now is kind of a crazy place in the division's history, where we may be looking at, in my opinion, one of the best fighters in the world and in the featherweight division's history. Like, I think Ilia Topuria is one of the most well-rounded mixed martial artists on this planet right now. He's got everything, and he's got kind of got the division on lock when you look at it as such. So I'm going to kind of break down the fight and where I can see the keys to victory for both guys, because they've had back and forths, they've had their face-offs, they've had their, trash talk back and forth, and it seems like Ilia Topuria is supremely confident, and why not? He talks the talk, he walks the walk, and backs it up with brutal performances and wins. And right now, his confidence is through the roof, and it's one of those things. Ilia Topuria, his confidence is unbelievable. He said a line where he goes, he rinsed Max. He goes, Max, what you tried to do in 75 minutes with Alex Volkanovski to beat him, I did in about 7. He knocked him out in the second round, which is a brutal line when you look at Ilia Topuria. He's kind of bullying Max Holloway in the trash talk, and it's kind of that supreme confidence and edge he has over everyone. Like, that is huge for him going into the featherweight division and going against everyone. I feel like he stacks the chips against him to the point where that forces him to train so hard. He can look a fool, but he trains so hard because he knows, I'm going to stack the chips against me and I'm not losing. He's all, if this was a game of poker, Ilia Topuria is all in, and he ain't losing that hand. He can't afford to lose that hand. But I'm going to kind of break down where I see the kind of in-octagon kind of stuff. So the benefits for Ilia Topuria and how he should kind of approach the fight. One of the things that he should look to do is push Max Holloway back. Ilia Topuria, he's quite good at this. He's very sneaky in how he pressures people and pressures forward. He's not like crash forward, and like, if you give an example, Diego Lopez is Diego Lopez is 5th gear from the get-go. Ilia Topuria goes through the gears and goes through the motions and kind of slowly wears on you, and then he'll put the pressure on and he'll break you. And I think Max Holloway, being such a forward-going and pressure-heavy style fighter, Ilia Topuria, one of the main things he needs to do is push Max Holloway back. Not an easy task to do, but if anyone in this division can do it, it's Ilia Topuria. Another thing Ilia Topuria should do to kind of keys to victory for him, grapple, sap the gas tank of Max. Even if you're not grappling to look for the finish, just grapple and just kind of switch it up. I feel like if you keep Max Holloway in striking, he's comfortable, but if you make Max Holloway grapple, you can make the fight uncomfortable, and you can just kind of get him guessing, get him thinking, and get him fainting, and you get him to use his energy early on, and then you've got the energy reserves because you're a better grappler and more used to grappling. And if you've initiated the grappling, psychologically, I'm about to grapple, let me get my cardio and gas tank ready, and just sap the gas tank of Max Holloway a little. I think that's a huge benefit for Ilia Topuria. Another benefit I've got for Ilia Topuria, the guy has multiple ways to win. He can KO you, he can submit you, he can grapple you to a decision, he can batter you over 5 rounds like he did Josh Emmett and win a dominant decision. There are so many paths to victory for Ilia Topuria, where it seems like there's only one or two paths to victory for Max Holloway. So the avenues to win for Ilia Topuria are way more than Max Holloway, so that is a huge advantage going for him. We know he can submit people on the ground. Max Holloway's got submissions as well, but it's just not on the level of what Ilia Topuria has and his grappling. Another key, Ilia Topuria, great combination puncher and great boxer, and he is brutal when he gets guys back up against that fence. If you look at a lot of Ilia Topuria's striking finishes, they're when guys are backed up against the fence. Jai Herbert, he lands that left hook and right hand to the body. Jai Herbert's backed up on the fence. He's got nowhere to go. You look at the Volkanovski. Volkanovski's actually having success in that second round, and he's landing the jab, busting up the nose, and it's like a slow amount of increments. It's like a 10-15 second increment in that fight where Ilia just pushes the pace, gets Volk to back up in a straight line, and once he hits that fence, there's nowhere to go, and he can unleash combinations. And that's what I love about Ilia Topuria. He's a 3, 4, 5 punch combination fighter. He's not just a 1-2 or a 1-2-3. There's shots coming after shots. His shot selection is excellent. So backing Max Holloway up against that fence is key, because that's when you can tee off on him. And there have been moments in fights where you look at the Dustin Poirier fight, where Dustin Poirier in the second fight when they fought at 155, Dustin Poirier rocks Max Holloway and he stumbles and he's backed up against the fence and Dustin's teeing off on him. You know, if Ilia Topuria can get that situation on Max Holloway, that's a huge advantage for him. So that's a huge key. Rip the body, sap the gas tank of Max Holloway. That would be key. You know, not just headhunting on a guy like Max Holloway who has an iron chin. Sap that gas tank, rip the left hook to the body, right hook to the body. You know, if you watch when Jose Aldo fought Max Holloway the first time, you know, Jose Aldo was doing good with some body shots. And another key thing, you know, Max is going to be a very pressure heavy guy and a come forward guy. Ilia Topuria has to stand his ground in the centre of the octagon and kind of dictate. The ring generalship of this fight is key. Octagon control in this fight is key, because whoever's pressuring forward more likely is going to have the more success in the round. And Max is a pressure heavy fighter, so if Ilia Topuria can just literally stand his ground and just tee off back and not back up, it's going to be very key for him. Jose Aldo in the first fight, I think in the second round, I'll try and put a clip of it, Jose Aldo just stood his ground and started teeing off on Max Holloway. Max won the fight in the end because, you know, he wore down Jose. But Jose had success in that moment. He just stood his ground in the centre of the octagon. And Max would throw like a 1-2-3, but Jose would just trade and wasn't backing up. And it was great success Jose was having in that first fight. If Ilia Topuria can do the same, where Max is pressuring forward and he goes, I'm not backing up, I'm going to stand my ground, I'm going to trade with you right here, you know, Max is going to struggle with that, because Max is going to have fire coming back at him, and then more likely he'll go backwards, and then that's where you can see Ilia have success in the fight. Supreme confidence. You know, Ilia Topuria's got supreme confidence going into the fight, and that is key fighting someone like Max Holloway. You know, Max Holloway, we saw he was hugely confident in that third Volkanovski fight where he was like, I am the heat, brother, I am the heat, and then next thing you know, after 3 rounds, he's dejected and Alex just wins a 5-round decision. You know, when you can break Max Holloway mentally, I feel you can snap him and win the fight. You know, and whether that's before the fight you can break him mentally, or after the fight you can break him, midway in the fight you can break him mentally, that supreme confidence that Ilia Topuria has is going to be key. Another thing, you know, throughout their whole rivalry, Volk had brilliant success with leg kicks on Max Holloway. Ilia Topuria, if you saw how he butchered Josh Emmett's legs, that's going to be a huge key. When I feel like Max stands like very rangy, and if he can just chop out that front leg, he can have some key success against Max Holloway, because you know, Justin Gaethje, he struggled to kind of implement the leg kicks. Max fought brilliantly, but if Ilia Topuria can implement them and then counter them with some right hands and left hooks, you know, it could smell disaster for Max Holloway. Another thing, the third Volk fight. So the first 2 fights between Max and Volk have been very close, and I had Max winning the second fight. But in the trilogy fight, in the third fight, Max Holloway was pushing forward that whole fight, and he was doing well, pushing forward. Volkanovski was a brilliant counterpuncher that night, and he was just teeing off on Max Holloway off the back foot, and he was just stepping off the side, landing the 1-2s, leg kicks, and he just was surgical that night in his approach, and he just kind of butchered and put on in my opinion, one of the best performances in UFC history that night. 5-round shutout on the back foot. So Max, even though he's pressuring forward, you can counterpunch him. He's a gettable target. Volkanovski's proved that. And if anybody can do the same as that, it's Ilia Topuria, because he has supremely high level boxing. So that would be key for Ilia Topuria. If he is backing up, that's fine. Like I've said, he should stand his ground and trade back. But if he is backing up, Max Holloway is there to be countered. Volkanovski did it in the third fight. Another thing, Max is a hittable target, let's be honest. You know, Max Holloway takes 2 punches to give 5 punches. So someone like Ilia, who's got heavy hands, you know, we saw what Dustin Poirier did to him in the second fight at 155, and that was a smaller Max when he went up. We saw how much better he acclimatized for the Justin Gaethje fight. But he's a hittable target, and for someone like Ilia Topuria, he can take huge advantages of that. So huge key. And also another benefit for Ilia, Max has kind of put on a bit of size, so he might be drained from that weight cut, which is even better for Ilia Topuria going into this fight. So those are the keys for Ilia Topuria in the fight. I'm going to kind of give my keys for Max Holloway to try and win the fight, and then I'll give you my final prediction. One of the big benefits of Max Holloway, he's got an iron chin. Now, a lot of people are saying this is when that iron chin gets cracked. Who knows? We'll wait and find out on October 26th, as Max Holloway says. But he can rely on that chin quite a lot, and it can get him out of danger, and he can use it to kind of... He uses it as a second weapon or like a second form of defense. And then when people can't rock him, he just puts the pressure back on them. So that's a huge benefit for Max Holloway. Another benefit for Max Holloway, supreme levels of cardio, you know. Max Holloway, if he doesn't have the power, but he has the cardio, you know, Max Holloway isn't going to be the guy to one-shot KO you, even though he did to Justin Gaethje. That was after an accumulation of damage. Same thing to Korean Zombie, accumulation of damage. So that is what he needs to do to kind of break down Ilia Topuria. It's that accumulation of damage over rounds. Just keep on doing damage and not get frustrated if he is, you know, shelling up Ilia Topuria and he doesn't look like he's doing damage. Just keep going. Another thing which will be key is the kicks will be key for Max Holloway. And the one thing I would notice, Jai Herbert rocked Ilia Topuria with a head kick, you know, and Ilia Topuria is about the same height as Alex Volkanovski. And Alex Volkanovski in the second fight got floored by Max Holloway. Max Holloway landed a head kick in the second fight and kind of stumbled Alex to Volkanovski. So that head kick, if I was Max Holloway, I'd look for again, because Jai Herbert got Ilia Topuria with that leg kick. So I would go low to the leg, low to the body, and then upstairs. And also kind of destroy Ilia's base and land that leg kick, land that body kick, and land a diverse range of kicks. And I would also front kick to the body and teeps to the body, because the one thing you want to do with someone like... In this fight, Holloway's going to want the mid to long range and Ilia's going to want the mid to short range. Just even if it's like a push kick to the body or a front kick to the body, just create space. Keep him backing up. You know, Volk had slight success with the leg kicks against Ilia Topuria. So what I would do is, this Max Holloway, if I was him, I would want to implement a good kicking game in this fight. Leg kicks and then a lot of push kicks, just to keep, when Ilia's coming forward, push kick him and just set him back and keep it in that mid to long range. Don't let Ilia get into the close range where he is very dangerous. Another big thing for Max Holloway, what he needs to do, keep off the fence, circle out, and don't be afraid to clinch and pause the action. You know, when Ilia's coming, like I've said, Ilia does his best work when someone's up against the face. You know, when I think was it Damon Jackson? Yeah, Damon Jackson, he rips to the body, comes over the right hand, Damon Jackson's up against the fence, KOs him. You look at Jai Herbert, same thing, back up against the fence, smashes him. Alex Volkanovski, same thing. He gets these guys up against the fence and they've got nowhere to go. That's why how you're circling and staying off the fence is key against someone like Ilia Topuria. But if he is coming in close, just clinch him and get the unders in and just kind of spin him around and get him back up against the fence and just push away and get the action gone. Because if I was Max Holloway, if you're in the clinch, you should still be safe enough that he can't land too much damage. And if you're controlling his hands in the clinch, you should be okay. So I would just kind of be aware of that, because when Ilia knocked out Volk, he was slowly creeping forward, and he just got those game of inches. Whereas if Volk could have just kind of grappled and clinched and just paused the action. Like, it's okay to pause the action. You don't need to put on an all-out war. This is to win the world title. So it's going to be key. Don't be afraid to just clinch and just kind of settle Ilia Topuria down, who's just like a wild dog out there, and just let it be. Max Holloway should weather those storms and have a good defense, you know. When he is up against the fence and Ilia's teeing up on him, Max has this tendency to swing back, and that's when you're going to get caught. Let him land the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shell up, and after the 6, try and circle away, or after the 6, once he's resetting, then land your own offense and get away. So that would how it would be if I was Max Holloway. One other thing I think he would do, I think Max Holloway should really use knees, clinch and knees to the body and knees to the head of Ilia Topuria. I think will be key. Ilia's much shorter, so when he's got that clinch and he's kneeing to the body, I feel like he can do a lot of good damage. Max Holloway can. I can't remember. There was a fight I watched recently of Holloway's, and I can't remember who. It might have even been Justin Gaethje one, where he does land a big knee on Justin Gaethje. So yeah, and also flying knee up top out of nowhere. I think because he's a shorter guy, you should be able to land that on. Yeah, there's something else I noted. When he fought Ilia Topuria, Josh Emmett got battered. But there was a moment, I think, in the second or third round where, just to create a bit of space, Josh Emmett just tripped him and he fell back and went backwards. Ilia Topuria did. That's clever. I would 100% use something like that just to create a bit of space and just to kind of set him off and just get a bit of breathing room when Ilia Topuria is pressing it all forward. Don't be afraid to just push him or just kind of trip him and get him to fall backwards, because that's when you can create some space and you've just got that pressure of him coming forward with that knockout power. Just alleviate some of that pressure. And last thing I've got for Max, feint with your entries. That's going to be key. Get him to swing and miss. You know, there's one moment, I think in the second round of the Volk fight, Volk comes in with a huge lunge in and a 1-2, and Ilia straight away just goes for the huge hooks and whatnot, but bait him, feint him with the whole body, get Ilia to throw, but don't, and then just come back out and then throw. That's what I would do if I was kind of in Max Holloway's position. You know, his Ilia Topuria's boxing is great. You know, if this is that power puncher and that technical boxing versus that volume striker and technical boxing, what's going to be better in an MMA fight? We will find out between both guys. But those are kind of how I would kind of play it for Max Holloway. You know, I think that head kick could be money. And also, you know, kind of get him to swing and miss on you if I was Max Holloway. Because do some big movements. Get him, you know. The one thing about Ilia Topuria, he throws with at least 70 to 100% power on every shot. So you can sap that gas tank if he's swinging and missing. Make him miss. That's a huge key for Max Holloway. And you're going to have to make him miss with your range and your distance, because he is a technical striker who will find the range. But it's just getting in, getting out, and those feints and keeping him at bay. How do I think this fight's going to go? A very difficult fight to predict, and it is a very close fight because these two are two legendary fighters. If I was going to have to predict it, I think Ilia Topuria has more avenues to win, and I'd probably give him the prediction. That's how I'm going to go. I just think he can grapple and submit him. I think he can be the guy to KO that iron chin of Max Holloway. And it won't be like Max will go flat out. He can just TKO him where Max isn't trading back, and, you know, all it takes is one stumble and you're up against the fence and you're hitting, and that's not a good sight, and then the ref steps in and it's over. You know, I don't think he'll flatline KO him like Max did to Justin Gaethje, but, you know, he can test him. You know, Max has been kind of submitted by Dustin Poirier in their first fight, so I would look for that as well if I was Ilia Topuria. I just think confidence, trash talk, everything is just working for Ilia Topuria right now. It just seems like a perfect storm of just success in his life. You know, money's coming in, the fame's coming in, he's married, he's got the kids, he's got a stable personal life, he can focus on fighting, he's got the world title, he's going for GOAT status in the featherweight division. It just seems like a perfect storm, and I don't think Max Holloway can weather that perfect storm. I think for Max Holloway, he can only decision him, really. I don't think he'll knock him out. I think he can decision him, and to knock him out, he's going to need like a perfect head kick. I think he's got a good chin on him, Ilia Topuria. He got rocked by Jai Herbert and he survived that. He's going to need like a perfect Leon Edwards type head kick, Max Holloway, and I just don't think he'll find that. I think Ilia Topuria gets it done via decision, if I'm being honest. I think Max is a great pressure fighter. I just think Ilia has enough in the tools to counter that pressure. When the pressure's coming forward, he can counter punch, and second of all, Ilia can pressure Max, and that's the big difference, where I don't think Max will be able to weather some of the storms Ilia will have coming. And also, one thing to note, Max against Volkanovski in the third fight wore the damage pretty bad. Alex Volkanovski wasn't even landing huge shots. He was just landing precisely on Max Holloway's face. Max Holloway's been in wars, so it doesn't take much for his face to get scarred up. So in terms of damage and when the judges are scoring it, that doesn't favour him either. So if I'm going to predict him, I'm going Ilia Topuria to win a decision versus Max Holloway. I think it's going to be a very good fight and a very fun fight. I just think Ilia Topuria is going to get it done via decision. I think it'll be like 3 rounds to 2 or 4 rounds to 1, Ilia Topuria. Let us know what you think of the fight in the comments down below. How do you think it's going to go? What did you think of my keys to victory for both guys? Like Jai Herbert did, can Max Holloway land that head kick, or will Ilia Topuria be able to KO Max Holloway like he has everybody else up against that fence? Leave your predictions down in the comments below. I know it's been quite a lengthy one, but it was one where I did look into it and look into some kind of key points for both fighters and where I can see their avenues to victories and what they need to do to win the fight. So let us know your prediction down in the comments below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more MMA fight content coming soon. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.